Started.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, everyone. With that, I would like to call this meeting of the Albuquerque Human Rights Board to order and invite all of the board members and staff present to introduce themselves. I'll go first. My name is Anami Das. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Board and vice chair.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Bolton, Vice Chair of the Human Rights Board.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leticia Trujillo, board member.
Hello, I'm Jack Champagne, board member.
Do we have any other board members on the call?
No, Larry Hinojos requested excuse.
Okay. We do still have a quorum, and if the board staff would like to introduce themselves.
Hi, Vanessa Arbayo, Bank On Program Manager with the city.
Dr. Nina Cooper, Deputy Director, OEI.
Hey folks, Charles Davis with City Legal.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We will move on to tonight's approvals. First item is the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve.
And
I second.
Member Trujillo will second. And because we are doing a hybrid meeting, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Chair Anami Das.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kate Bolton.
Aye.
Member Jack Champagne. Member Jack Champagne.
Aye.
Member Leticia Trujillo.
Aye.
That completes Anonymous.
Thank you so much. And on the agenda, we do have minutes up for approval. I forgot to put them in the agenda packet tonight, which is not great. So my apologies on that. I will send out the draft of those before the next meeting or before the board retreat, depending on how that conversation goes later on. And the notice of possible quorum we discussed last time, I believe that's already approved. Is that the case, Mr. Davis?
I'm sorry, I missed the end of that. What was the question?
The notice of possible quorum for the board retreat, is there specific language that we're supposed to have to publish that before the board retreat on March 8th?
I don't think so. I would just treat it exactly as a normal board meeting. So I don't think you need to do anything different because it's a, like intercession meeting.
Okay.
So I think just proceeding as though it were a meeting, and I am anticipating your next question about whether or not you can do things like approve minutes hypothetically.
Yes, that was my next question. Thank you.
I think for all intents and purposes, it's another meeting.
Okay, perfect. So with that, I move to table the minutes from the January meeting and the notice of possible quorum. Do I hear a second?
I second.
And can I get another roll call vote, please?
Chair Anami Das.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kate Bolton.
Aye.
Member Jack Champagne.
Aye.
Member Leticia Trujillo.
Aye.
That completes our vote.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. With that, we will move on to public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to make a public comment on the Zoom call, please raise your hand using the reactions feature at the bottom of the screen. I cannot see very well at the moment. So do we have any members of the public here? Cool, cool. With that, we will move on to item 4. And given that I was hoping to book a presenter for the presentation, but that did not work out last minute, we will move on actually to the director's report for OCR/OEI.
I have some very, very good news. It's not absolutely complete, but we are so close, guys. We have a very strong candidate for the OCR consumer protection position. This individual is an attorney and has operated in multiple roles, from judicial extern, lobbying assistant, law clerk, privacy specialist, paralegal, overseeing legal assistants and paralegals, doing litigation attorney, and also serving as a judge advocate in addition to her attorney work. So she did pass the OEI interview section with flying colors, and also the first round of OEI executive interviews. So we are very close to filling this position. Again, a lot of it's just dependent on timing, but we are so close, closer than we've ever been. So I am more excited than all of you. And so I just wanted to report on that. In terms of board member update, I did reach out doing a wellness check to member Andujo via email, and she had indicated that she planned to attend our January board member was not successful due to personal issues. Also, there was a question about vacant seat policy, and I just wanted to update on that. According to the policies and boards section of the boards and commission, if the board member has not reengaged after a wellness check, we have the opportunity to reach out to Mayor Keller and appoint a new person, since it's been now more than 4 sessions that she's missed. So I'm going to rely on the board to give me direction and how you want to proceed. Also, there was a question as to whether board members who had completed their terms, which we had one, could continue until we found someone else, and the answer to that question is yes. So I understand from the city clerk's office that there are 6 people who've expressed interest in the Human Rights Board, so they're going through a vetting process in order to make recommendations to the mayor. So we may have a number of people being added in the near future to the Human Rights Board. So I wanted to give you an update on that. Additionally, in your email today, you will have received a leadership guide for board members. And I just wanted to make that available. There was interest on the last session. So it can give you an opportunity to become familiar with that. I also will send a list of board training dates. And so I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and register for those as you can. They will issue a certificate upon completion. And if you would please send me a copy of your certification. That's part of our responsibility to keep that information on file. And so we'll provide additional information to you. We've been doing a lot of great work. You guys have expressed a lot of interest in the Bank On program and consumer protection. So I'd like to cede the rest of my time to Vanessa Arballo, who's our Bank On manager, to provide some updates on some things that have been going on relative to the Human Rights Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we recently were at the youth fair. So we were there tabling, talking to youth about getting bank accounts, and was excited to see there's quite a bit of youth who do have bank accounts, but also explaining the difference to both the youth and the parents about what a custodial account is and what it's not. And we also have been partnering with Youth and Family Services. They're hosting seminars for the youth that are currently employed. So they're like the year-round youth employees. So they're trying to help them with skills that they're working on. And so they asked us to come in and do a basic around, comparing wants and needs, how to budget, that sort of thing. We're also working with another department within Youth and Family Services that supports families of low to moderate income levels who have children that are 5 and under. And so they're expecting about 175 participants for a day that they have to bring in people for different presentations. And they asked us to come in and do a financial literacy section or session. So for that one, we're partnering with New Senda Credit Union, working closely with Rio Grande Credit Union. We just had a couple of senior center presentations about fraud and scams. So we're trying to expand on that. We have another one coming up now on March 5th at Bear Canyon Senior Center. And it's really nice to see because you have the seniors who, it's kind of taboo. Some of them don't want to admit that they've fallen for some of these scams, but when they get in a room with people who have signed up to learn more about these presentations, they start to share about some of their instances that they've been scammed or ask for help. And so that's nice because the people that we've been working with Bank of America and Wells Fargo on those initiatives because they have the curriculum available and it's free. And so they come out and they give those presentations and we really sit with the seniors and talk to them and help them on some instances talking about how to protect themselves from the phone calls that they're constantly receiving. And that was a feature that I was talking to many of them about you're able to now silence some of those calls from coming in. So you're not always answering them. And so that was something that some of them learned. But it's just nice to see that there's a very big want from people coming to those because an example I'll give you is the first one we had was at Palo Duro back in January. And I had some people who had to leave that presentation early that they wanted to continue with the information. So they actually went to the Santa Barbara Martinez Town location where we had another presentation to gain more insight on that. So that's something that we're going to continue to expand on and offer at more senior centers. And we also hope that we can have the banks continue going in and doing that on a regular basis because they're not charging anything, it's free, and we're meeting the seniors where they're at. So that's going to be something that we look forward to continuing.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I have questions, but I want to open the floor to all the board members if any questions come up. The floor is open. I will start then. So with the potential vacancy on the board, I know that part of the human rights ordinance, I think it's in Section 9 says that the staff director will consult with the Human Rights Board to fill vacant positions. I was wondering if that was going to be part of this Okay, wonderful. What was the other question? I did see also that OEI did a basic income presentation. I was wondering if you would be willing to speak to that a bit?
Absolutely. We are really thrilled. A few things in addition to the press conference on guaranteed basic income. This coming Tuesday, we are hosting Cities for Financial Empowerment, which has been the funding entity for the Office of Financial Empowerment for our first 2 years to get us started. So they're coming in and they're going to be meeting with a variety of different people. But one of the components within that is also the inaugural meeting of our Financial Empowerment Advisory Boards. I wanted to say that as well. So and integrated within that is a press conference on Tuesday at 12:30. So I wanted to invite any board members who were interested. You are welcome to attend. We'll email information to you in case you would like to participate in that endeavor. But and one of the things we'll be highlighting again is guaranteed basic income. So oftentimes people ask, and I can send you all a list of question and answers we put together around guaranteed basic income. But the way I like to explain it, the difference between universal income and guaranteed basic income is like when we were experiencing COVID and every household got, or every individual got $3,000 who was in good standing with the IRS. That is an example of universal basic income. It means everybody gets this certain amount regardless of any particular characteristics. Now, guaranteed basic income focuses more on a specific population. And it's up to the entity who's issuing the funds to determine where that's going to go. So a little background is that you guys are aware that the marijuana fund is taxed by the city of Albuquerque. And so one of the ordinances that came forth a couple of years ago from city council is that they would do what's called a marijuana tax equity fund. And it would focus on 8 different areas, basically underserved populations who were harmed by unjust laws around marijuana. And so they have tasked the Office of Equity and Inclusion to manage, to come up with a design, develop, and implement a program that will help dispense those funds. And so our first initiative is the guaranteed basic income. In our case, let me just say this, we have participated with a number of endeavors around Mayors for Guaranteed Income, which is a nationwide program. You guys may recall back in November, late November, we had a big event, which was a documentary. And it gave information on guaranteed basic income. And we also had a panel discussion and answered some questions. Well, now is the time for implementation. And what we've determined is that we would take 2 low-performing schools in the city of Albuquerque, one in the International District and the other in the Southwest area. So those schools are Whittier Elementary in the International District and Carlos Ray in the Southwest area. So they're both Title I schools. And our current proposal is to identify 40 families in each location. We do have some latitude, so that may slightly increase, but our current proposal is 40 families. Those 40 families, they will go through an application process, and then we're working with the local school to determine any other areas that we're going to require, but we're trying to keep it as minimal as possible. The other thing I want to say about guaranteed basic income is that there are unrestricted recurring funds, and there's nothing that people have to quote unquote qualify. It's not according to whether they're documented or undocumented. The only thing we're requiring is that they be part of a family of the 3rd grade classes of each of the respective schools. We, at Whittier, there are 47 3rd graders. At Carlos Ray, we found out there are 100. So one of the things we're looking at is possibly increasing those numbers to either 47 or 50, but whatever amount, it's going to be the same in each cohort. So the good part is those families would receive $750 per month, every month for 3 years. And what we found across the country, they've used guaranteed basic income in a variety of different ways for housing, for education. Even here in the state of New Mexico, there have been a couple of initiatives that have been used for immigration and other needs. So it really is on the behest of the issuing entity to determine. So we determined that we were going to focus on education again, schools with lower test scores, with an endeavor to improve and collaborate with both the schools and neighborhood organizations. So they'll get that $750 a month for 3 years as long as they remain part of that particular school. Should they relocate to a different location, then another person who fits in the parameters will receive that. What we've seen across the country that most people use them for basic survival needs. Lion's share of people use them for housing. So let's say, for example, you have a working mom, maybe who's single, she may have to work 2 or 3 jobs. We've seen, for example, post-COVID, our rates not only of housing, but apartments going up 30% and more. So even in the lowest income districts, the amounts of rent are very high. And so people have to work multiple jobs or figure out different options. So a family could use it in a variety of ways, but it's up to them. They get to determine how to use that $750 a month. So one family may use it for housing. Another may use it to say, hey, I'm getting by enough where I can go back to school and increase my professional development so that I can move into a higher paying job within this period. Another may say, well, I want to use it to provide daycare, or before and after school programming for my children, so I don't have to worry about when I get to work or get off work. Another person might say, well, I'd like to have some ancillary benefits for my child to be able to enroll them, in dance school or to be involved in sports. It really is up to that family how to use it, but the goal is just to improve the quality of life in those underserved neighborhoods that have traditionally been adversely impacted by unjust laws and the ramifications of marijuana use in those communities. So I'll stop there. You may have questions for me. I get excited and I did not mean to go that long, so my apologies.
I appreciate it very much. I do have one question, and again, I do want to open the floor up for the other board members. But with $750 a month going to 80 families for 3 years, what is that? The sum total of the payments would be a little over $2 million.
If my math is correct, if we're going at the 40 per person per school, it was like 360,000 per school. So that's just one, if I remember. I'll go back and give you guys the detail. But that's just part of the initiative. So that's the first cohort. We also plan on doing 2 other cohorts this year. One is going to be focused on young adults exiting the foster care system. And so some of the funds will go to them. In that case, they'll get $1,000 per month to help them get situated, whether it's going back to school or getting their own apartment, or again, they get to determine how that's going to be utilized. And then the last cohort is for workforce connection. So again, equipping people to develop themselves professionally. That one will be $750 a month as well. I will say at this point, we're looking at a total of 1.8 million that's estimated in the fund. Not all of the funds will be used completely by OEI. Part of those funds we have agreed to share with Triple H to help with some of the housing initiatives, because we feel like that's a real priority and reaching some of the same underserved communities. So that kind of is more comprehensive. The final thing I wanted to say is you guys may be aware that there are anti-donation clauses within the city of Albuquerque. So you might ask the question, well, how do we get beyond that? So there is something called the One Albuquerque Fund, which is like a 501c3 handling a lot of city initiatives. So we have gone through one step previously through what's called the Finance and Government Operations Group, FGO, and we did pass through that. So the next step is going to be to go to City Council. There is a meeting, I think, tonight, of course, because that was the conflict of our move today. But we are not on that particular agenda. Most likely will be on the agenda in 2 weeks. I will inform you guys in case any of you would like to testify, but that'll be the final piece. Once the city council approves that, then we'll be able to release the funds. Let me say this, ultimately, those funds are gonna go to United Way. United Way is actually gonna manage the program so that we don't have conflicts they'll be the one that issues the stipends. And we'll be the ones that work with the school to determine who those families will be. And then they'll issue the funds directly to the families. So the final thing, I keep saying the final thing, I promise this is final. We will be collecting some data, and we want to keep it minimal because we don't want to require undue work of staff. So teachers will not have to collect data. Most likely it will be the community schools coordinator or whomever the principal designates who already is dealing with data for the school. So we will be looking at attendance, and then the school will help us determine one or two other factors. So those are the main things. We will be charting some data just to see how it improves quality of life, and also how it impacts the school, hopefully in a very positive way. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other board members have questions? Or comments?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Cooper, for the presentation, and really exciting to hear about those various initiatives. My question had been around any evaluation efforts, because of course, with sort of promising and innovative strategies like this to replicate and scale them, which is what we want to see, you know, in Albuquerque and beyond, we want to be able to demonstrate the benefits. So it sounds like the factors you'll be looking at will be kind of within the school environment exclusively. Is that right?
Well, we are open to that. And so, Kate, it sounds like you have some experience in evaluation, and we welcome that input in. I'm just trying to get input from as many partners and areas where people have expertise, subject matter experts, to make it as strong as possible, because we want it to be successful. We know it's going to impact the lives, but we also want to have the data that proves to naysayers that it has achieved the goals that we anticipate that it will. So I welcome any advice, recommendations from yourself and other members of the board as well.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, yeah, it's a delicate balance, right? Because you want that robust data, but you also don't want to create a big reporting burden, whether it's for, you know, the schools or lots of hoops for the participating families to jump through or anything like that. We of course want to avoid that. So, but we'll definitely reflect on it and share any ideas or feedback.
Precisely. And I just also wanted to say we've been looking at a lot of exemplary programs across the country, and also using things like Stanford has a guaranteed basic income website with a lot of data and record keeping, both quantitatively and anecdotally. So yeah, those are some of the things that we're kind of using as models for our structure as well. Great question. Thank you.
I just thank you, Dr. Cooper, for that presentation. And I think that this is a phenomenal initiative in that I work with families who are in transition, homeless families, families who are and unaccompanied homeless, abandoned youth. And for clarification, did you say that one of the cohorts may include students who are you talked about unaccompanied youth, is that correct?
No, I mentioned about the other two groups are going to be foster children that are graduating out of the program. So once they turn 18, there'll be a number of slots available for them at $1,000 each. So we are just now starting to organize that piece. So I don't have any details about the structure of it, but that's our goal. So And then the other is people who are pursuing professional development in terms of workforce development.
And when they're allocated this monthly, um, the $750, they could also use that towards transportation
They can use it for whatever. We're not
whatever.
any restrictions. What we're saying
And
is empowering families to say, you know what you need and what's best for you. We've even seen in the literature, sometimes they use that to help other people. So it really is up to them how they use it. They don't have to report back and say, oh, I used it this month on this or anything like that. I mean, they'll probably just participate in general surveys about quality of life and overall how they spent it. But in terms of monthly reporting or anything like that, that will not be required. Nobody's going to double check, anything. And so part of the goal is to make sure that we're helping people not be adversely affected in terms of the benefits cliff. Sometimes with different programs, if let's say if their salary increased slightly, then they can no longer be eligible, for example, Medicaid for their children, for healthcare, and a variety of different, whether it's SNAP benefits or other things. But the way this program is designed, it will not affect their benefits, even if they're receiving any. So it's totally unrestricted. I know it seems too good to be true, right?
yes, so families they don't need to report monthly, but are there resources that will be provided for the families such as financial literacy in case families want to, I mean, you talked about maybe community coordinators at the school or whomever's designated at the school for to do their check-in with the family, because would there be there
Absolutely.
would be someone communicating with the family, maybe perhaps not on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or
So that's going to be the Office of Financial Empowerment. We're going to work with, and my proposal is not just the recipient. So let's use Carlos Ray as an example. If we're only able to help 50 families, there's still 50 families that aren't getting the benefit, but they won't get the guaranteed basic income, but they can still benefit from our financial empowerment classes. So we're going to be doing coaching to any family that is interested. We're working to see if we can pair bank on benefits for those who may not have a checking account right now. So yes, we're going to be working closely and aligned so that they have some coaching on how to use money properly if they don't have an idea of how to use it. But like I said, in the literature, most people do use it for housing and they don't squander the funds, which is the fear of many people. When we say unrestricted funds, they think people are going to go out and use it for nefarious things, and the literature just does not bear that out.
And I'm happy that you mentioned attendance would be monitored for the students,
Yes.
because I think that's a huge component, is making sure that our students are in school.
Yes.
And so
I think
having that
part
as a
of-
prerequisite.
Yes, part of the reason why a lot of families or students are struggling is because of attendance. So we find if they are regularly in attendance, that just the exposure to the regular ongoing education will help improve their grades.
Mhm. Yeah, grades and
Great question. Thank you, Member Trujillo.
thank you. Thank you for this. It does sound pretty darn good to be true, but my other clarifying question is, so if a family moves away from the school, or if they go to another school inside of the school district, in the same school district, although if they're no longer at these two schools, Carlos Ray and Whittier, then they would no longer be able to participate in the program?
That is correct, because we are partnering with the school to help improve test scores at that particular school.
I see. I see. Okay.
That's,
Because I
that's
know,
part of the evaluation that you were referring to before.
yeah, because I know we have several families that are highly mobile. Whittier is one of our school, and of course, Carlos Ray, they're both. And so I think about families who are highly mobile and are part of our program.
And that's part of the goal, right? We're anticipating that if they had that extra money, that will provide some sustainability for
Some
the family.
stability. Mhm.
And hopefully they won't be moving as much. So to see that continuity, we know that a lot of, let's say, for example, the jail pipeline, a lot of the statistics are based on third grade performance. And so we'd like to be able to turn that around. So by the time that youth get to middle school, they're in a much better situation and at least mitigating some of the at-risk potential for each student.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cooper. And this would be how many months did you say?
For 3 years, so 36
3 years.
36
Okay.
months. What we've seen from other programs across the country, some did like 3 or 6 months, and we're finding that 1 year is like the sweet spot to begin to see some change. And that's why we're wanting to go beyond that and do 3 years so we can see some longer term outcomes.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Thank you for that information. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Do we have any additional, or do we have any more questions or comments for the administration? All right. With that, we can move on to the subcommittee reports. For the Accessibility and Accountability Subcommittee, member Andujo is not here today to report back. And the same is true of Advocacy and Representation. However, I do want to comment that I know, excuse me, that member Hinojos has been working on outreach efforts. I'm not sure where he's at with those, but that is the last I've heard from the Advocacy and Representation Subcommittee. Oh no, I forgot to put the word sustainability in one of the subcommittees on the agenda, but member Champagne, do you have any updates for the Integration and Sustainability Subcommittee?
Nothing to report right now.
Okay. And for Research, Investigation, and Policy, there's a few things on the agenda, but I will hand the meeting over to Vice Chair Bolton.
Yeah, so I've been working on revisions to the HRB rules and regulations, and a lot of that is focused on sort of procedure and powers around the different kinds of hearings that we've talked about. So the advisory hearings and the quasi-judicial hearings, and what the process looks like to convene different types of hearings and their implications. So I hope that we'll be able to present something to the full board at the next meeting in March, and that there will be ample time to take a look at some of the proposed adjustments. And then the proposal, the second proposal that you see here on the agenda really is just regarding, I think, the severability of, sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the different files that I have open here. severability of resolutions enacted by the board, and the procedure around posting. And so that is included in the agenda packet. It's the first item, the first document after the agenda. And so I don't know if there were any questions. I think this is fairly straightforward. But Chair Doss, anything to add on either of those?
So with proposal resolution 2025-01, this was meant to be a space saving and paper saving measure. Both of these are things that have been on every resolution that we've passed for the last year. I also want to say that when I'm on my phone, it's because I'm looking at the agenda. I'm not just like on my phone. But I urge y'all's support for this, and I move to adopt the resolution. Do I hear a second?
I will second.
All right. And before we do the roll call vote, is there any further discussion? I'm still getting used to the procedural stuff, even though it's been a year. All right. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair Anami Das.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kate Bolton,
Aye.
Member Jack Champagne,
Aye.
Member Leticia Trujillo.
Aye.
That completes our vote.
Wonderful. Thank y'all so much. Vice Chair Bolton, is there any further activity to report from the RIP subcommittee?
The subcommittee is continuing to discuss some of the resolutions that we had discussed at our last meeting. So, you know, just to avoid a sort of, you know, extensive materials for today's meeting, I think the idea is to kind of space that out. So there will be more to come in March and perhaps April as well on some of the other draft resolutions and other materials that we had talked about in January. So for instance, the grievance template and the draft resolution around the ride suspension policy. So all of that is sort of in front of the committee, and work is being done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. My apologies about my voice. The next item on our agenda is further discussion of continuing the homelessness rights initiative. And this was brought up by Member Trujillo during the last meeting, saying that you wanted to continue the effort. I would like to ask like what direction you're thinking, or how we want to go about like concluding the process that we had last year.
Well, I kind of wanted some input from the board, and I thought maybe that would be something that we could discuss even at our board retreat. So that was the idea surrounding that, is to bring it up, to discuss it and kind of structure it out during our board retreat. Would that be something that the board would agree to?
I would like to see it on the agenda. And I think that counts as a second, and so it's on the agenda. Do we have any further discussion of the homelessness or the homeless rights initiative from any board member? Just any comments or thoughts of direction for that? If not, we can move on to proposal resolution 2025-06. 2025-06 relates to a couple things with the Metro Security Division of General Services. And for background on this resolution, I wrote it when I was looking for context and language surrounding the department so that we could engage in conversations, like using the language that is found in the establishing ordinance or resolution, wherever this division came from. And I could not find the establishing document. Not to suggest that there isn't one, just that it isn't easily available online anywhere. And in conversations with various security personnel from the city, I have learned about the amount of 911 calls that get diverted from APD to Metro Security. And I also learned that Metro Security does have the authorization to use force in certain circumstances as part of their jobs. And with that being a part of their duties within the city, I think that publishing data similar to the way APD does would help promote trust between the citizens and the government, just so there's more transparency and accountability there. There are a few changes from the version that was proposed during the January meeting. Mostly the number of recipients that are found in section 3 has gone down from like a list of 7 that I forgot to sort through, down to the city attorney and the director of general services. And that's just to focus in a bit more on like which folks from the administration would be interested and involved in processes like publishing this information. And I would like to move to adopt the resolution, but I would also like to field any questions that anyone may have, or comments or concerns or anything. Well, with that, I would like to move to approve the resolution. Do I hear a second? And if y'all would like more time to read through the resolution, we could do that too. Going twice for a second. If not, we can table this as well. But there would have to be a motion to table the resolution.
I will second the motion.
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? I was coughing.
Yeah, I will second the motion to pass.
Okay, cool. Can we get a roll call vote, please, Dr. Cooper?
Chair Anami Das.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kate Bolton.
I
Member Jack Champagne.
Aye.
Member Leticia Trujillo.
Sorry. Aye.
That concludes our roll call.
Thank you all so much. We breezed through this agenda pretty well. Does anyone have any announcements for, I guess, between now and the March meeting that they would like to share with the public or with the board? I do have one. The next Human Rights Board meeting is on March 20th. same time, I imagine we're going to be here as well. And I don't know if I can think of anything. Does OEI or, yeah.
I have a question, just on that note, did we want to make that a permanent thing to be here instead of council chambers, or?
My understanding was that there was a conflict with scheduling for March.
In May.
Oh, in May.
Next one was May.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of your preference too.
Okay. Does the board have a preference on where the meetings are held? Especially or with a specific focus on the March meeting. Does the board have a preference on where the March meeting is held, is what I mean to ask.
I know I'm remote.
But Eddie-
I do prefer this location overall to council chambers.
Cool.
And,
yeah.
And Chair Doss, pardon my interruption. I do want to mention that next month, March the 20th, I will be on travel, so I will not be available to attend.
Thank you for letting us know in advance. Cool. So the next Human Rights Board meeting will take place here at Plaza del Sol in the lower level hearing room, 5 p.m. on March 20th. And if there are no further announcements, we can conclude today's meeting. Oh, yes.
The question, Chair Doss.
Mhm.
I just wanted to touch base on the retreat. It sounds like we are moving forward with the retreat on March 8th. I remember there was discussion about possibly having a presentation on open meetings. I believe that there's somebody within the city clerk's office who can accommodate something like that. Do you want me to try to make arrangements? Is the board still interested in something like that?
I certainly am.
Okay.
So if you could, that would be wonderful.
Sure.
I haven't rewatched the January meeting. Have we agreed on a location for the retreat?
I don't think
Ooh.
so.
We should do that.
I think we're probably pretty close to what our notice should be too. I don't remember what we said it was last time. Was it 10 days? In which case, if we're we're pushing a week, but if you wanted to just kind of, I don't know if you want to get into details about like trying to hash out location and time and everything, but while we're here.
That is fair. I believe we settled on like noon to 2 or 3, but starting at noon on the 8th. And I have a preference for the International District Library, but my preference isn't the only one that stands. So if anyone has an alternative, I would like to consider more options than just my first thought.
I think that's a fantastic option. And I mean, in the board's experience, I mean, the hearing that we held there was very well attended, and I think that's a good option.
Chair Doss, would you like us to secure that space?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. The question was if OEI could schedule and secure the location. I think that's all the things that we had to handle. We did it. Good work, everybody. With that, I move to adjourn today's meeting. And also thanks everyone again.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.